Today, on Be Something Wonderful, I did nothing but take a mental snapshot of my desired end. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Here's our first video here from South Africa, and I want to talk about a session that I had with this client that you all know, because I did another video about some of his manifestations, some of his experiences. And one was about the manifestation of that reservation of that comedy show in the bar with his friends. If you remember that video, I'll look for that and leave a link. But that was a powerful video of my client, a subscriber as well, standing in his end and getting that desired table no matter what, right? After hearing from everybody multiple times, it's sold out, the show's sold out, the show's sold out. And he was just like, okay, and kept persisting, kept asking, kept staying in that end. So I want to talk about this because this is another example of this. And what we talked about, I'm going to give you the situation that he laid out for me yesterday, actually, and last night in a session, and how he did it. And one of the things that I really like that he said, he goes, Tom, I just take a mental snapshot. I take a frame, a photo, because we've talked about looking at realities in terms of frames. So that's what he did. He just took a snapshot of that future frame, which is really now, because remember, time, we create the idea of time. Time doesn't exist. That's happening right now. He took a mental snapshot. And we talked about this idea that mental snapshot is reality, that his perceiving is reality. There's nothing outside of your perceiving, right? You're the perceiver, you're the perception, and the perceiving. It's all one, but your perceiving is reality. There's nothing outside of your perceiving. That's why we talk about this idea no matter what the conditions are. The inner conditions of the changing thoughts and feelings, or the outer conditions of the events, people, and circumstances. It doesn't matter because your perceiving is reality. So instead of asking what went wrong, what's going on, why am I seeing this, how long is this going to take, it's been a year, it's been months, it's been 2 months. Instead of that, remember, you create all that in the moment that you declare it. And really, you created it before you even said it, right? Before they call, I will answer. While they're still listening, I will hear. That's already created. So I really want to hit this today and more. Here's the circumstance that he laid out. He had a building that he put up for sale. Why did he put it up for sale? Well, first of all, the building's out of state. So it's like in the Midwest, and he's on the East Coast, right? He bought this building with 9 years left on the lease. A major tenant, a major store. Think of those major stores that occupy this space. So he had a pretty good deal. A building with 9 years left on the lease. I think it was a 15-year lease, and a major store. Now, though, in the present time, there's 5 years left on that current lease, and the tenant's not committed to it, right? And in other words, he feels the tenant had leverage here. So he put the building up for sale, right? So he committed to that, right? That was his commitment. He put it up for sale. He agreed to sell it. The agreement was already done. He agreed to sell it. As he did that, the tenant then re-signed for another 15 years. So keep in mind, if he sells this building, he's got to reinvest those proceeds, or he'll be subject to a huge tax on the gain, right? So all of this is in his mind, and so what did he do? He let it roll. He goes, well, if it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it doesn't. He went to this idea that what was his preference? His preference was another building. Close, in his state, but not just in his state, in his town. Hear this, another building that has the same terms, right? The same terms and the same price or a lower price. Unimaginable. There just weren't those types of buildings available in his town, or even in states close to him, let alone his town. Do you see this? And remember, he has to reinvest those proceeds in 45 days after the sale. So as the time was winding down, he agreed to sell it. The tenant was re-upping for another 15 years. So if he had not agreed to sell it, he would have just stayed with that building because the tenant was re-upping. There was no reason to sell it, right? But so now, when he sells it, he has 45 days. With 20 days left, he's just sitting cool, going, remember, his desired frame, the snapshot he took was an ideal building, a building. He wanted to invest in a new building, but he wanted the building to be in his town. He wanted it to be the same terms or better, right? With a major tenant. Well, as time was winding down, 45 days to 20 days left, right, where he's going to have to pay the big tax. It still kept lighting up that frame. Was indifferent, though. Hear this. Indifferent to whatever would be at the end of that timeline, to whatever would happen. He was indifferent to it. Why? Because he knows that he's reality. That whatever happens, it's working out for him. Right? He wasn't judging it and saying, oh no, I'm going to have to pay that tax. If he had to pay the tax, he would pay the tax. But he knew that even if he paid the tax, things are working out for him. Do you see it? He stood in that knowing no matter what, right? Stood with that. And so then they find a building. Perfect, right? Has a major tenant, but the price was higher. The price was higher than what he wanted to pay. 20 days left. He said, no, that's not the price. Hear this. That he has that knowing now that he's reality. That's not his price. Finally, they agree to it. Last moment, they agree to his price. He got the building, and not only is the building in his same state, it's 10 minutes from where he lives. Right? Keep in mind, because if he held on to this building, or the building lost its tenant, he would have to manage that from out of state. And what he was explaining, it's just more difficult to manage it out of state. So much easier. He can do anything if it's within his 10-minute drive, right? This is what he explained. So everything fell into place. There are the terms. This is what we mean by perceiving is reality, that you're the only reality. Indifferent doesn't mean that you don't care. It doesn't mean that you're giving up your desire or you're giving up anything. It means you're giving up to the higher power. You're giving upward, right, to that higher power. You're releasing it to that higher power, knowing that no matter what happens, everything's working out for you. That those conditions are only temporary, and all conditions are temporary. Even as he would pay the tax, those are temporary. He didn't. He doesn't have to. But if he had to, right, he was indifferent to it. So I want to go over the metaphysical lesson here. And so remember, you're not perceiving reality. Rather, you're perceiving is reality. Do you hear it? You're looking at reality as reality. I've often said that. But remember, you're not perceiving something out there. You're perceiving is what's out there because it's within you. Do you see it? You're perceiving is the out there. There's no out there, it's just you're perceiving. So whether you're perceiving is reality, your experience of reality, all of it. Remember the vertical. Here's the vertical, the blue representing your current frame, right? That current snapshot where you believe that the conditions are not desirable. It's not what you want. You have another choice now. As you light up what you want, as my client did, he took a mental snapshot. There it is. Remember, it can be any snapshot anywhere. Right? These parallel realities, there's no link to any of these frames unless you create the link, unless you create a story around it, right? And then it becomes a lifeline, a film roll, a script that you create a story around, right? But he kept this. He entered that new reality, that new story about what he wanted by creating the mental snapshot. Do you see immediately that is a reality? Remember, you're not creating it. You're lighting up that potential that's already there, right? Creation's finished. That reality already exists. He lit that up, and you see immediately that started forming. And then as it formed, that becomes his new reality. Do you see it? It solidifies, and then that is his current frame now. That's how it works, guys. This is powerful today. So This is what he said, and it's so powerful. He goes, Tom, I did nothing. He did nothing. What does that mean? He didn't try to make anything happen. He didn't go out frantically looking for a building. He just had that intention out there and a building popped up. Right? It means I resisted nothing. He didn't resist anything. He didn't really resist his thoughts and feelings. Sure, there's thoughts and feelings. Oh, I'm going to have to pay the tax. Right? Those are temporary inner conditions. And there were outer conditions where there were no buildings available. But one came up for sale. Right then, 20 days left, in his town, 10 minutes away, the perfect building, except the price was higher. But he persisted and they dropped it. They accepted his terms. Right? Remember, he did nothing. He resisted nothing. He did nothing other than this. He took a mental snapshot, that frame, of his desired reality. He imagined that. He assumed that, right? Whatever way you want to do it, imagine it, hear it, assume it, feel it, right? That conviction, that was his conviction. That's his end. That's why A Course in Miracles says, I need do nothing. Remember, what Course in Miracles says, I need do nothing, is a statement of allegiance, a truly undivided loyalty. I like this. Because A Course in Miracles is saying, I need do nothing is an undivided loyalty. To what? To the unseen reality. As Neville Goddard says, faith is loyalty to the unseen reality. But this is what Neville says, and Neville's distinct here. But faith does not give reality to that which is unseen. Do you see it? You're not creating that faith and persisting is not creating that reality. It's just faith to that unseen reality. Meaning you're persisting in it, knowing that it's already created. It's already yours. And it does unfold and become manifested reality, right? A 3D physical form as you persist in it, but it's already there. That's big. That's why my client said I did nothing, right? Other than that inner picture or taking that snapshot. Then he took whatever steps were natural, right? And the natural, as Abraham Hicks would say, the natural next step. But he did nothing to make it happen. He did nothing to force things in 3D reality. Remember, A Course in Miracles, I need do nothing is a statement of allegiance, a truly undivided loyalty. Loyalty to what? Neville Goddard answers that question. Faith is loyalty to the unseen reality, but faith does not give reality to that which is unseen. And Neville goes on to say, if you have a goal, in other words, a desire or a wish, although it is unseen, it already exists. Although it's unseen, it already exists. That's unseen, but that already exists. And my client lit it up by taking that mental snapshot of that reality that already exists, creating it as a real reality within him. Within him, remember, here's the vertical. It's all happening now. All happening now, right? This is your horizontal or linear experience. He stayed in the vertical the entire time, understanding that these circumstances, these conditions are temporary as he stays in his desired end, right? So this is big here. So faith is loyal to the unseen reality, but faith does not give reality to that which is unseen. If you have a goal, a desire, or a wish, or an imagined end, although it is unseen, it already exists. And here's another thing, it's already fulfilled. It's already fulfilled. Everything already exists in that vertical. That frame's already there. Fulfillment, you're already fulfilled in the now. All those realities, see all these frames? They all exist within you. I make them parallel, and teachers talk about them as parallel, all the spiritual greats, but keep in mind they're all within you, right? They're not really parallel, right? We talk about moving in that direction, but they're all within you. All these frames are superimposed one over another, and you're seeing it through some sort of vantage point based on your assumptions and your beliefs, right? So let's hit this a little bit more. Persisting in your wish fulfilled, an ideal end, is not creating it. Remember, it's faith in the unseen reality. Faith isn't creating that unseen reality. It's just faith to it. It's not creating or trying to make something happen out of lack and an assumption that it's not yours yet. That's what we think persistent is a lot of the times. Right, that we persist in imagining, in affirming, in scripting, in subliminals, whatever the processes are, and all the processes are powerful. And I just want to make that declaration. I think some of you were asking about one video that I did where this person put all processes aside and just went to the ultimate process of I am. Some of you said, does that mean you don't have to do processes? It doesn't mean any of that. It means move to your conviction within, but whatever you're doing, whatever process you use, it's the conviction within you. It's your inner authority that matters, right? And this client has that, recognizes, because we all have it, recognizes his inner authority, right? Persisting in your wish to fulfill their ideal then is not creating it or trying to make something happen out there out of lack and an assumption that it's not yours yet. Rather, it's faith to the already created and existing reality that is unseen, but is just as real, if not more real, than your current 3D experience. Of course it's more real. It's within you. Just look at this, guys. Remember, ultimate reality is all of this, all of these potentials. So it's the only reality, really. It's the only reality. It's all about love of and faith in your inner reality. Love of that desire, love of that end, and faith in it. The only reality that matters, it's source of your entire life experience. Remember, your source, your perceiving is source. It's all within you. It's the only reality. So when you keep looking out there and looking at time, dragging the past forward and saying, I've been in this for over a year and nothing's happened, or all these things happened when I persisted and firmed, why would that happen? All of that is implying that you're not in that desired end, that you're implying that there's a secondary cause, a second source, something else is happening outside of you. It's all you. And as you perceive and see it as you, and stay in that desired end, being indifferent to those inner and outer conditions, knowing that it's your conviction that creates all of it, then that is reality, and it's the only reality, right? His is a good example of that, right? Faith in your unseen and already created reality or version of you is the absolute faith of a mustard seed, that scripture that Jesus talks about, right? A mustard seed, it's not a small, as I've always talked about, it's not a small amount of faith. Because it doesn't mean little faith because it's a little mustard seed. It means in that mustard seed is the total plan of fulfillment, is the entire reality. In the seed is the plant, right? In the seed is the end. It's all there. It's in that frame that he took a snapshot of is the entire reality. Your desired end contains the plan of fulfillment and the entire manifested reality within it. When? Right now, in that vertical, right now. Go to the end and stay there. Think from the end and stay there. Live in the end and stay there. That inner reality is the only reality. This is what he did no matter what, indifferent to whatever would happen. He knew and he knows that that's the only reality. And even if he paid the tax, he knows that his inner reality is the only reality. He will go through whatever those 3D conditions are saying because he knows those conditions are within him. And as he stands in them, as he persists in that knowing, then conditions must form around that. They must rearrange themselves. They must yield to your inner state. Be conscious of being that person you desire to be and only that person you desire to be. A mustard seed is conscious or sealed in the consciousness of being a mustard seed and only a mustard seed. It's absolute faith. It's absolute knowing. It's absolute conviction, right? For whom and through whom that reality is real. Be conscious of being that person you desire to, for whom and through whom that reality is real. Perceive the greater reality behind it, within it, and around all those 3D conditions. That's what he did brilliantly, right? He only perceived the greater reality of what he wanted. Behind all the conditions, through all the conditions. It didn't matter. He was indifferent. Temporary thoughts and feelings are irrelevant unless you give them authority. That's what Jesus was pointing at with Pontius Pilate. You have no authority over me unless it's given from above. What's above? I am. Unless you say I am or I identify with those conditions, those thoughts, those feelings, those 3D conditions as my reality. And then you collapse the waveform and make it real. Do you see it? You get to decide what's real at every moment of your reality, regardless of what the conditions are saying. right? Regardless. Because remember remember when Pontius Pilate asked Jesus, who are you? And Jesus doesn't answer. I am doesn't answer to those unwanted conditions, doesn't answer to 3D conditions. 3D conditions acquiesce, they yield to, they rearrange themselves around you. You are reality, you're all of it, right? So asking what happened, where is it? Why hasn't it manifested? What did I do wrong? All of that implies there's another secondary cause. It implies you're not identifying with your ideal version reality. It implies you're identifying with something out there, something apart from you. It implies you're not source. You're the one and only source of your reality. You with that God power, with that I am, one with the Father, right? Go to the end and stay there. See, everything is part of the unfolding of your new reality, or that inner reality, right? Be indifferent to temporary 3D conditions, inner and outer. Not because you don't care, and not out of giving up what you want, but out of the absolute faith of a mustard seed of knowing there's no reality unless you say so. This is really what this client has gotten to. He knows there's no reality unless he says so. Even if he sees conditions that were not his choice, it doesn't matter. He persists in it. They must change. Your assumption that it's done is the only reality. He did nothing but perceive the desired end. He did nothing but take a mental snapshot of his desired end and stood in that. That's powerful. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for liking and sharing and commenting on the videos. Thank you for joining our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/ Be Something Wonderful. Almost forgot that. Facebook.com/groups/ Be Something Wonderful, where you can share insight and guidance with others and ask for insight and guidance. We're also on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Kearin, or just go to our website anytime for all that information and more at tomkearin.com or besomethingwonderful.com. Don't forget, we also have a membership channel with a lot of content and growing on that. We will have a membership video while we're in South Africa here. We're gonna do one of those. But we're also going to schedule a live stream soon again. So if you want to join, there's a link below. If you have joined, thank you for being a part of it. Guys, this is Tom Kearin coming to you from South Africa with Be Something Wonderful, with great love, with great light and infinite gratitude. Creators, until next time, see you soon.